It seems like we're already having a buffering issue already. Come on, man. Alright, everybody, welcome to Disclosure TV. I hope everybody can hear me. So, my special report today is, this is breaking news. A lot of people do not know about this news. So, we're going to bring it to you now. There's one person that does know, a few people who know about this, but as far as the mainstream media, they have no idea what's going on. So, first of all, let's get to what's going on. So, the Daily Caller published, well, not the Daily Caller, but, the Daily Caller published about an op-ed that was reported in a think tank. Let's see if I can find it. I should have had this up already. Sorry for the delay. Well, let me find it for you. So, what happened was, what's going on is that a government official by an unknown name has opted to has made an op-ed with the Daily Caller. So basically, if you're looking at it on the screen, you can probably see it. I'm going to read it to you. This says the Daily Caller is taking anyway, here, I'll start all over. So, sorry. So, an unknown Trump official within a senior official within the Trump administration, who has not want to be identified, has written an essay or an op-ed about what's going on within the Trump administration and what is happening and what people are doing and what it's all about. Well, the unknown official has stated that the government shutdown issued by Trump has an ulterior motive other than that of government funding for a border wall. And it seems like there is evidence to support that. So I'm going to read this for you right here. It says the Daily Caller is taking a rare step of publishing this anonymous op-ed at the request of the author, a senior official in the Trump administration whose identity is known to us and whose career would be jeopardized by its disclosure. We believe publishing this essay anonymously is the only way to deliver an important perspective to our readers. We invite you to submit a question about the essay or our vetting process here. So we're not going to be doing that. Oh, you hear that? I am getting a test of the emergency alert system. So, damn, they got me cold chills, buddy. God, I hope I got that on video. It looks like I did. Oh, that was good timing, man. So, if you look right here, man, that gave me cold chills. Whew. Woo! I'm serious. That gave me cold chills like no other. I hate that noise, man. I hate that noise. God, I hate that noise. It freaks me out. That's why I use that siren on my introduction. That siren freaks me out. And it gets my attention, but it freaks me the hell out. And I do it on purpose because that noise, for some reason, I don't know if it's a frequency or if it's the frequency of it or if it was, I mean, I'm pretty sure it was designed that way to make you scared. Because a lot of people get scared when they hear it, just like what happened to me. It freaked me the hell out. Because there's some things I'm going to talk about on here that I haven't said that may go along with this, what just happened. And as of right now, if you look at my phone, a lot of people don't believe me. Here in Kentucky, where I'm at, we constantly get alerts. Constantly get alerts. And it's always a test. They test our EAS system every single night. Every single night at 2:30. Anywhere between 2 a.m. and 2:30 a.m. Sometimes I've seen it at 2:40. Every night the EAS system is tested here. Every night. Now, this right here it says this is a test of the commercial mobile alert system. I'm guessing that's the presidential FEMA test. More than likely it is. If you can see, it has all the dates that it's been tested, starting with the presidential alert. See, November 21st, 2018. Y'all can see that. And then again, December 19th, 2018. And then again today at 1:15 p.m. God, that freaked me out. Because I'm seriously getting ready to talk about some things that have to do with national emergency, and that freaked me out. God, that freaked me out. I still have cold chills on that one. Man, I wish people was watching my show right now. Nobody's watching. Man, that freaked me the hell out. Man, I need a cigarette after that one. Yes, I smoke, like I said. God, that freaked me the hell out. Wow. Damn. Okay, so let's get back to what I was saying. I read that top part. So, as one of the senior officials working without a paycheck, a few words of advice for the president's next move at shuttered government agencies: lock the doors, sell the furniture, and cut them down. Now, this is just a partial. I think just a few paragraphs from it. This may be the whole thing. Where I found it was on American Thinker. So I'm going to read the rest to you. So, saboteurs peddling opinion as research, tasking, and this is what the person, the anonymous person has written. So that's what I've started reading. Tasking their staff on pet projects or pitching wasteful grants to their friends. Most of my career colleagues actively work against the president's agenda. This means I typically spend about 15% of my time on the president's agenda and 85% of my time trying to stop sabotage. And we have no power to get rid of them. Sorry, I hear a... Okay, never mind. Thought I heard a helicopter. There's been helicopters every night. I know I keep going back and forth. Stop reading this, but stuff's just getting my attention. Every night around the same time, I'd say around midnight, I hear a very distinct helicopter fly over, coming from, I'm not sure where, it may be from the Avon base, or it could be from Richmond, flying west, but I hear it all, it's at the same time every night. So, and you can tell a distinct military helicopter between civilian helicopters, so I know what it is, and I've seen it. So, okay, so back to what I was saying. I'll start back from where I left off. So, due to the lack of funding, many federal agencies are now operating more effectively from the top down on a fraction of their workforce, with only select essential personnel serving national security tasks. One might think this is how government should function, but bureaucracies operate from the bottom up, a collective of self-generated ideas. Ideas become initiatives, formalized into offices. They seek funds from Congress and become bureaus or sub-agencies, and maybe one day grow to be their own independent agency like ours. The nature of big administration bureaucracies is to grow to serve itself. I watch it and fight it daily. So what she's this seems like a she. Just by the I want to say she by the way it's written. I know if you learn how to read people like I do, and that's just because of my background and things that I know about that I cannot share. I mean, I could share them. I don't want to, because the FBI will be at my home, and I don't want that to happen. So, and yes, I have worked for the FBI. I can tell you. So, and yes, I'm a civilian. I'm non-military, and I can't go past that. I'm not allowed to tell you anything. No, I didn't sign a piece of paper. No, I didn't have to do what a lot of people do when they think that the FBI hires you for things, because they don't want a paper trail. If an FBI agent comes up to you and says, hey, I need you to do this, either you do it or you don't. I mean, you can say no, which I didn't say no. And no, I didn't get paid. I mean, I did get paid, but it wasn't to be an informant. It was a task I needed to complete. I'll just say that. It was a task I needed to complete, and it was in addition with a friend of mine's company a few years ago, and the task did involve moving boxes, I'll tell you that. But as far as who that information was on, I cannot tell you. Yes, I do know. As names of who it was written on the boxes. They were even investigating somebody from a town where I was at. The town where I was at, they was investigating somebody in the basement of a hospital, which I can't tell you which one. They was in the basement of the hospital investigating somebody else in New York. They didn't even have to be in New York to investigate them. That's how much information and how much technology and how much resources the FBI has. So I can't tell you anymore. Lord knows I want to, and you can tell I want to, but like I said, I don't want them at my house. So let's get back to reading. Okay, so when the agency is full, employees held liable for poor performance respond with threats, lawsuits, complaints, and process in at least a dozen offices, taking years of mounting paperwork with no fear of accountability, extending their careers while no real work is done. Do we succumb to such extortion? Yes. We pay them settlements, we waive bad reviews, and we promote them. So basically what that means is, which I do see it a lot in the workforce, is whether it be a promotion, promote them to do other things, or we promote them in a job performance, as in you level up in your job, or as like I said, we promote you to other people, and we use you or utilize you more in a different setting, and we use you more for this or that or the other. So if you don't know, that is actually the way it goes in the workforce. If nobody knows, and a lot of people do treat people this way, even between human beings. We'll have a human being, one human do something bad to another. And then, okay, let me start over with that. Say you have two friends. There's three in the group. All right. So say you have there's three people. You're all friends in a group. And one person is nice to you constantly. They're exactly what a human being is supposed to be. And then you have this other friend who does nothing but take or use you or lie about you or talk about you and all that. 9 times out of 10, for some odd reason, the person that's being talked about, which is you, will do more for that other person than you will for the person who's treating you badly than the person who is treating you good. Don't ask me why. I see it constantly. I see it. I see people have more respect for the person who treats them badly than they do for the person who treats them as a human being and who's supposed to treat them with respect. I see it constantly. So that right there is no lie. I believe that. I mean, that could be, that's a literal, that's literally a statement of fact. And it's gotten worse over the years. I don't know why. It's like we trust and we respect people who stab us in the backs more than the people who don't. And the people who know better than to treat somebody that way. We had no respect for them at all. Don't ask me why, but we do. So anyway, many government agencies have adopted the position that more complaints are good because it shows inclusion in, you guessed it, the process. When complaints come, it is cheaper to pay them off than to hold public servants accountable. And that's true. The result, people accused of serious offenses are not charged, and self-proclaimed victims are paid by you, the American taxpayer. So I'm guessing that's going to have to deal with things that have been going on the last 2 years in the White House, Russia, Hillary Clinton, all the pond draining that's going on by Trump, all the swamp draining that's going on, and I wink. Let me finish the rest of the document about that swamp draining. So the message to federal supervisors is clear: maintain the status quo or face allegations. Many federal employees truly believe that doing tasks more efficiently and cutting out waste by closing troubled programs instead of expanding them is morally wrong, as one cried to me. See, words like that, as one cried to me, I don't see a man saying that. I see a woman saying that. I just don't. I'm pretty sure this was written by a woman. Which, I mean, it doesn't show, I'm not saying that in a bad way at all. I'm just saying that whoever this is a woman. That's it. And you can, yes, you can tell the difference between how women write and how men write. And that's not, that's not right. That's definitely. I get it. These are their pets. It is tough to put them down and let go, and many resist. This phenomenon was best summed up by a colleague who said, the goal in government is to do nothing. If you try to get things done, that's when you will run into trouble. So, the person who said that quote by another colleague, if this is truly legit, and this letter is truly, and this op-ed is truly real, then the person who told them that quote will probably know who this is, who wrote this. Now, I don't know how long ago that quote was said, even if the person even remembers it. But like I said, nobody knows about this op-ed hardly. Not the mainstream media, just these people right here. They're basically trying to pull a Washington Post moment, and I think that's what this is. It's a Washington Post moment for them, and an op-ed just like the other letter got put out. And so let's get back into it. But President Trump can end this abuse. Senior officials can I'm going to say that word, reprioritize, sorry, during an extended shutdown, focus on valuable results and weed out the saboteurs. We do not want most employees to return because we are working better without them. Sure, we emphasize with families making tough financial decisions like mine, and just like private citizens who have to find other work and bring competitive value every day while paying more than a third of their salary in federal taxes. And, you know, and there's a story that goes along with that. If you all don't know the conspiracy theory that goes along with that, yes, all 40% of all taxes in the United States goes back to the Federal Reserve, which is owned by which are the shareholders are 4 families. And if you ask who the owners, the top 4 shareholders are of the Reserve Bank and or the 12 federal branches, that information is classified. You cannot know who that is because the government will not tell you. It's a private, the Federal Reserve Bank is a private bank, and they actually tell the government what to do. So that being said, all your money, you have to pay for your money, yes. You have to pay interest on the money. That money actually doesn't even belong to you. You're paying money, you're being given money that you think belongs to you, and then turning around and paying interest on that money and giving it back. And yes, 40% of the money collected, 40% of income taxes collected by the government goes to the Federal Reserve. And then it goes back into the hands of the four richest families, which also own the largest, which own the World Bank. They own the World Bank, and they also own the largest bank in Europe, which controls all of Europe's money. Go figure. Just a couple of people own all the banks. President Trump has created more jobs in the private sector than the furloughed federal workforce. Now that we are shut down, not only are we identifying and eliminating much of the sabotage and waste, but we are finally working on the president's agenda. President Trump does not need Congress to address the border emergency, and yes, it is an emergency. Billions upon billions of hard-earned tax dollars are still being dumped into foreign aid programs every year that do nothing for America's interest or national security. That's true. Right now, we are giving China foreign aid. As a lot of people don't know, we are giving China foreign aid, $300 million or more every year in foreign aid, while they have trillions in surplus made off of the United States. They have trillions of dollars in surplus cash, but we give them money for foreign aid. We also then owe them money, and then we pay them interest on that money. And we never get that foreign aid money back. But they have, why are we giving them millions of dollars while they have to help their people, while at the same time they have a surplus? I mean, I mean that's a political agenda to me. I mean, I'd be like, we're giving you all this foreign aid. Yeah, knock some of that debt off. That's even if we owe them a debt. Who knows? I mean, who knows what is true and what's not true? I mean, really, if the government has names for files and programs and that are classified and top secret, and the people are not the government. It's the laws are the government. And there's laws that we don't know about, and those are laws, and those laws are classified that work within the government that we're told we can't know. Some government officials don't know what those laws are. Take for instance, I found out recently that they redone the COP or COG, continuity of government. They reworked it like 2 weeks ago, and there's information in there that keeps that basically they keep making the government more selfish during a time of a disaster or a national emergency. And what I mean by selfish is they keep adding laws in there and changing it to where they are taken care of first, and then they turn around and it's the people second. And which while the government is in a national emergency, if you read it correctly, they give all authority to FEMA to do FEMA and the military to do what they need to do while they are hidden away in bunkers. And then there are inside of those, and also inside of those laws, there are classified laws that don't exist. That it says there is a law there, but it states no law. It doesn't state an article or a title or anything. It says that there was one there, but it's blank. There's several that way. And when things are left blank, just like PPDs and EOs, executive order, and presidential directives, which is executive orders, just like all those, each president puts out executive orders or PPDs, and some of them are left blank because they're classified. They're executive orders that we don't know about. There's laws we don't know about. So, just like is said here, and I know you want me to finish reading it, but there's a lot that needs to be said along with this letter, and I'm sorry for that. And like I said, and just like the letter said when I stopped, all these tax dollars are being dumped into foreign aid programs every year, doing nothing for America's interests or national security, and that's what I was talking about. The president does not need congressional funding to destruct abusive agencies who work against his agenda. Remember that. I'll read that again. The president does not need congressional funding to destruct abusive agencies who work against his agenda. This is a chance to effect real change, and his leverage grows stronger every day the shutdown lasts. Okay, so this is the part where the ulterior motive comes in. The president should add to his demands, including a vote on all of his political nominees in the Senate, send the carrier appointees back. Many are in the 5% of saboteurs and resistance leaders. A word of caution to be a victory. This shutdown must be different than those of the past and should achieve lasting disruption with two major changes, or it will hurt the president. The first thing we need out of this is better security, particularly at the southern border. Our founders envisioned a free market, night watchman state, not the bungled, bloated bureaucracy our government has become, but we have to keep the uniformed officers paid, which is an emergency. Ideally, continue a resolution to pay the essential employees only if they are truly working on national security. Furloughed employees should find other work, never return, and not be paid. So I'll get to the second part of this here in just a second after I read this. Secondly, we need savings for taxpayers. I want to go back over that part. But we have to keep the uniformed officers paid, which is an emergency. Ideally, continue resolution to pay these essential employees only if they are truly working on national security. Furloughed employees should find other work, never return, and not be paid. Okay? So that is important. That is important to his ulterior motive. That is important to the ulterior motive of the shutdown. Secondly, we need savings for taxpayers. If this fight is merely rhetorical bickering with Nancy Pelosi, we all lose, especially the president. But if it proves that government is better when smaller, focusing only on essential functions that serve Americans, then President Trump will achieve something greater that Reagan was only bold enough to dream. And yes, that has to go along with it. The president's instincts are right. Most Americans will not miss non-essential government functions. A referendum to end government plunder must happen. Wasteful government agencies are fighting for relevance, but they will lose. Now is the time to deliver historic change by cutting them down forever. The author is a senior official in the Trump administration. The views and opinions expressed in this commentary are those of the author and do not reflect the official position of the Daily Caller. As I said, the Daily Caller, which is a media outlet, I'll reference it by its address, dailycaller.com. That's giving credit to who it was sent to. This was published January 14th, 2019, and I'm surprised hardly nobody's picked this up. Nobody hardly has picked this up. So, and it just says senior Trump official contributor. So I'm going to go to this next page right here, and I'm going to let you read. This is entitled Trump Shutdown Trap. This is AmericanThinker.com. Trump Shutdown Trap, January 15th, 2019. So the very next day. And it says, has President Trump suckered Democrats and the deep state into a trap that will enable, and that's the ulterior motive. Has President Trump suckered Democrats and the deep state into a trap that will enable a radical downsizing of federal bureaucracy? In only 5 more days of the already longest government shutdown in history, 25 days and counting as of today, a heretofore obscure threshold will be reached. Obscure threshold enabling permanent layoffs of bureaucrats furloughed 30 days or more. So there's laws within the government that says that if you're furloughed for 30 days or longer, by law, you're laid off. By law, you no longer work there. You have 2 options, and the government has 2 options. You're either furloughed or you're given a position at a different department. So, is this Trump's plan? Is Trump's ulterior motive behind the shutdown to cut everybody out? Is he draining the swamp at this point? Is he taking everybody that's been furloughed, all the people that the deep state that's within his government a lot of them have been furloughed. DHS has been furloughed. FBI. I mean, there's a lot of people that's been non-essential employees that's been furloughed, and some of them are management. Not management, but some are higher up. So you've got. It's day 25. At this point, it's day 25. So this is the 15th. Today's the 16th. So this is day 26. There's 4 more days. And in 4 more days, it will officially be a furlough. After 30 days, it's a furlough. It says, don't believe me that federal bureaucrats can be laid off. Well, in bureaucratese, a layoff is called a RIF, a reduction in force. And of course, it comes with a slew of civil service protections. But if guidelines are followed, bureaucrats can be laid off, as in no more job. It all explained by Michael Roberts here, updated after the beginning of the partial shutdown. So I want to give credit where credit is due. This is by Thomas Lifson of, I guess he is an editor of American Thinker. However, this part right here, I guess he covered this story by who explained all this by Michael Roberts. And this is just, I guess, a summary of all of it. So, I just want to make sure that everybody gets credit where credit is due. So, a reduction in force is a thoughtful and systematic elimination of positions. For all practical purposes, a government RIF is the same thing as a layoff. Organizations must stick to predetermined criteria when sorting out what happens to each employee. They must communicate with employees and how and why decisions are made. In deciding who stays and who goes, federal agencies must take 4 factors into account. Number 1, tenure. 2, veteran status. 3, total federal civilian and military service. 4, performance. Agencies cannot use RFI procedures to fire bad employees. No, but you have to prove that you're firing somebody for just bad employees or personal reasons, that's hard to prove. Even companies, even civilian companies, even private companies fire employees just because they want to. And actually, some states have laws like California. California, they can fire you just because they want to. They don't have to give you a reason. They fire you just because you want to, just because they want to. And that's a law there. So the use of, so really, you can be fired for anything. If they believe that it's going to harm anything that the company, or as in this case the government, if it's going to, anything you do or say is going to affect your company and the bottom dollar of your company, or if it's going to affect what the morale or they can fire you for anything. Everybody knows that. You can say yes, that's illegal, but it's only illegal if you can prove it. That's the thing. That's how the system works. It's only illegal if you can prove that it happened. And that is one thing that a lot of people, 99.9% of people, cannot prove that happened, is that you were fired for personal reasons, or just because somebody just doesn't like you. However, in California, they can fire you because they just don't like you. A lot of procedures must be followed, and merit performance is the last consideration. But based on the criteria above, employees already furloughed can be laid off. RIFE'd. That's how it's written. RIF'd. Once they have been furloughed for 30 days or 22 work days. When agencies furlough employees for more than 30 calendar days or 22 continuous work days, they must use RIF procedures. An employee can be terminated or moved into an available position, like I said. So I go back. Is Trump draining the swamp? Is he draining everybody that's bad for our government? Is that what he's doing? I see, not only this is possible, don't get me wrong, it is. He's using the law. But that's sneaky, buddy. That's freaking sneaky. That is sneaky, sneaky, sneaky. I also see another thing out of this, which is something that is totally not good. So the other thing that I see that could possibly come out of this that's not good, which may be happening on another scale, and some preppers and other YouTube channels might agree with me on this, but the government is being downsized in a great big way, which leaves us vulnerable. As you see on the screen on the bottom, it says our national threat level has been increased. And the word is that it may be, it's trying to be confirmed. Nobody knows yet. I'll leave that up to, and that's just the word. If you want the rest of that story, go see Marfugal News on that one. But I think that has something to do with the second part of what I'm telling you I think's happening. Because you have the government that's shut down, there goes a bunch of people, and then you have a swamp draining process, there goes a bunch of more people. There goes a bunch more people. Our government goes from this big to this big, and what happens to our national security? That happens. I'm pointing at my other screen, so I have multiple screens. So that happens. The defcon is upgraded because we're at a vulnerable point. There's a lot of places that need to be open right now that aren't. There's a lot of, I'm sure that there is military open, but there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of people that are missing from their posts that need to be there because of the government shutdown. And it's a possibility, as I say, that was planned. That could have been planned. Because right now, our government is totally crippled. We got half of them are fighting with the other half. One of them doesn't talk. One party doesn't want to talk with this party. They're all being a bunch of babies, really. And they're causing us citizens to be at harm. And I made a video about that, about America, actually I tweeted about it, I think. Right now, our government is putting us at harm. And the Declaration of Independence states that at any time, the people have the right to abolish the government and replace it or implement a new government if we find that our government is causing us harm or there is a direct threat to us by the government. We have a right to. We have a right to repeal and replace our government at any time if we feel that we are in harm's way by it, if they are not doing their best job to protect us like they're supposed to. And right now, that's happening. Our government is completely shut down. And more people are getting ready to get fired based on what we see here. And they may see, I could see two ulterior motives behind this, not just one. The one I'm looking at could make somebody seem like a hero. But the other one I'm talking about could potentially hurt you as a citizen, and could cause a national emergency and implement martial law, and the government could totally take over. Right now, you could issue a martial law. You could issue a national emergency. With defcon being dropped down due to employees not being, due to a crippled government. And yes, that's supposed to be secret. That's supposed to be secret. So if anybody, and it was leaked out. And like I said, if you want to know any further information on that, here's the screen. Hit up Marfugel News on that. He's the one who broke the story. Let him do that. Right now, I am just doing what I want to talk about. So, anyway, I see two ulterior motives, not just one. We have a government that's shut down. We possibly have a threat level increase due to the government shutdown, which gives more proof to my theory about why it's being drained. It's possibility that at this point in time we're closer to martial law than any point in time we've ever been. A complete, total government takeover. You got to think about it. If you've got 14 million people, if you've got 800,000 people in the government, all right, you got 800,000 people. There's more than that, probably a million or so. a little over 1 million, and you shut down the government, a bunch of people go home, and then you lay them off, then that decreases the amount of people within the government that could possibly cause a problem with, I'll say, future endeavors of the government. So what could possibly happen? You got people that want to interfere with somebody else's agenda. If you take those people out, then you only have a limited few to deal with. You have to keep the amount of people in your group small to control. You can't have 1 million people in your group, because that's too many people that can be persuaded to help somebody else take over that group. That's too many. You can't have that. But what can you do? You can downsize that group. You can RIF to these people. You can downsize the government and get all the people that you don't want in the government out of there, so you can do what you want. And after that point, like I said, it could go two ways. You can be the actual hero, which is what this is stating, or it's a good time for a government takeover of the people. It's a possibility. This can go two ways. Either he's doing what he says he's doing, or preppers are right, something bad's about ready to happen, and martial law is getting ready to be implemented, and there's a possibility that bad things are going to happen. Even worse things are going to happen. I'll leave that up to you all. I'm just going to provide you the evidence, and I'm going to provide you the common sense that I told you I would provide you with on my channel. The common sense, the simple facts. I'm good at reading stuff. I'm good at reading people. I have a history, my background, all that comes into play when I read people. And I'm good at it. Very good. I've come to learn I could probably read somebody in about half a second. So, you tell me what's going to happen. Is Trump draining the swamp because that's actually what needs to be done, and that's what needs to happen to get all the bad people out in order to better our country? Or is he draining the swamp to get everybody out of the government that may interfere with his process to go the other direction, for a total takeover of the people? Hitler did it. Hitler only had a few people he trusted. He killed everybody else. He killed everybody else. If he didn't trust you, you were dead. Just like North Korea. North Korea does it. Any communist country does does exactly that. North Korea kills people they don't trust constantly. Officials that retire from the government, they end up go missing. They go missing. They get too old to work. They can't work anymore. They go missing. All the time. So which direction is Trump going? Is he actually headed toward the right direction and draining the swamp for the better of the United States? Or is the swamp being drained for a takeover of the people? It could go either way. Because you can't have 1 million trusted people in one group. It's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Out of that many people, you're going to have somebody that's able to take over and convince other people to help you take over. But if you've only got a few people to help you take over, it's less likely that you will actually be taken over. If y'all get what I'm saying. I hope y'all get what I'm saying. You don't want a lot of people around you when you're trying to take over a country. You only want, or to take over a certain people, you only want the people you can trust around you. If you get a bunch of people around you with different ideas on what should be happening, it's easily they can convince other people, or they can have their own coup basically. While Trump, and that's what I'm saying. You can't have. He's trying to prevent a coup within a coup, is what I'm trying to say. So is that what's going on? Which one's happening? There's evidence that both can happen. The American people are being left out of all this. This seems to be what was referenced in this remarkable essay written by an unidentified senior Trump official published in the Daily Caller, which vouches for the authenticity of the author and explains that it is protecting him from adverse career consequences should the name become known. I strongly recommend reading the whole thing, which we did. The purported Trump official makes the case that devotion to process eats up most of the time of federal bureaucrats and is also used by enemies of President Trump's initiatives to stymie the legitimate orders issued by his senior officials. That's what I'm saying. That right there. He's trying to have a coup. This is a coup within a coup. And it could have another coup within it. And it's a possibility. You don't know which way it's going, because you do have the United States, you do have the United Nations trying to issue and initiate Agenda 21. If nobody knows, I've said it 40 million times, and so has other people. You've got Agenda 21, you got the United Nations trying to create a one world government right now, a one world government, a one world currency. And yes, the United States did sign onto that, along with 120 countries. I think more, I think maybe all of them did. I'm not sure, but I think 120 countries. As of at the time, this has been planned since the I've seen references back to the late 1960s, maybe, to a one world government. That's from the United Nations. So it's been planned for a long time, and Clinton, as of the last 20 years, you're looking at Bush signed it into office, Clinton signed it into office, and then I think maybe Obama or one of them, or maybe Obama had started initiating it, and it seems like it's being initiated. But there's steps that have to take place in order for that to happen, and I see them lining up. I see all of it lining up. All of it. It's lining up perfectly. You make the government smaller to take over the people. The next thing, they're taking your weapons so you can't defend yourself. So, what do you all believe is going on? Do you all believe that he's doing what he's doing for the good of the American people? Or did he create a coup within a coup in order to downsize the government And as I said, as it says here, the purported senior official makes the case that devotion to process eats up most of the time of the federal bureaucrats and is also used by the enemies of President Trump's initiatives to stymie the legitimate orders issued by senior officials, his senior officials. So is he draining the enemies? Is he getting rid of all his enemies? And is there another plan besides the one this one that's being said on from the government official? I mean, I see two plans that can come out of this. Either a legitimate coup that he's doing, which Ronald Reagan did a coup with I think the FAA. All the pilots or something went on strike. I'm pretty sure he did that. He created a coup, and after 30 days, he furloughed every one of them. Let's look that up. Okay, so this was all from, this is on this day in 1981, President Ronald Reagan fired more than 11,000 air traffic controllers who ignored his order to return to work. So he fired them. After he fired them, it had been 30 days. It had been 30 days, and at that point, he RIF'd all of them. All 11,000. He furloughed every one of them. And that's a law within the government. They can fire you. And he fired every one of them. So he RIF'd every one of them. So Trump's smart enough to do it. You could downside, in this case, with what he's doing, you could, like I said, you could go, I mean, there's no telling what the government does. There's no telling we know what they're capable of. Our rights have been restricted, and they've become more strict over the years. Almost to a point to where it almost could be considered communism. It's getting to that line. This says the purported. I've already read that. On an average day, roughly 15% of the employees around me are exceptional patriots serving their country. I wish I could give competitive salaries to them and no one else, but 80% feel no pressure to produce results. If they don't feel like doing what they are told, they don't. This is part of that letter that the other parts you all didn't get to read that was on. Why would they? We can't fire them. They avoid attention, plan their weekend, schedule vacation, their second job, their next position. Some do this in the same position for more than a decade. They do nothing that warrants punishment and nothing of external value. That is their workday. Errands for the sake of errands. Administering, refining, following, and collaborating on process. Process is your friend. is what delusional civil servants tell themselves. Even senior officials must gain approval from every rank across their department, other agencies, and work units for basic administrative chores. Then the senior official notes that I have just called the trap. Or let me re-say that. Then the senior officials notes what I have just called the trap. Most of my career colleagues actively work against the president's agenda. This means I typically spend about 15% of my time on the president's agenda and 85% of my time trying to stop sabotage. And we have no power to get rid of them until the shutdown. Those officials who waste time and stymie the president's initiatives now are not present because they are not categorized as essential. Due to the lack of funding, many federal agencies are now operating more effectively from the top down on a friction of their workforce, with only select essential personnel serving national security tasks. President Trump can end this abuse. Senior officials can reprioritize during an extended shutdown, focus on valuable results, and weed out the saboteurs. We do not want most employees to return because we are working better without them. Keep in mind that saboteurs cannot be individually identified and RIF'd, but they can be included in the layoffs if they meet the criteria above in terms of seniority and service, and they must be given 60 days notice, but once they are gone, they are no longer free to obstruct using the process as their friend because they are gone. President Trump has proven that he is a disruptor who changes the framework of thinking of major issues by refusing to accept the givens, the assumptions of how things always have been done and therefore always must be done. So who is the senior official? I don't know, but I think Stephen Miller is the sort of bold thinker who might volunteer telegraph that strategy just 5 days before the deadline. Give Chuck and Nancy something to think about and probably reject as unthinkable. Then they can't complain that they weren't warned once the trap is sprung. I think it's a woman. I don't think it's that Stephen Miller guy. I think it's a woman who wrote that. So anyway, all that being said, what do you all think? Is Trump shut down part of a coup, and there could be another coup inside of that? It wouldn't be the first time the president had a coup, not by a long shot. And not only that, I seem to be buffering for some reason. I don't know why. There you go. That should be okay. So, like I said, I don't know why all this is happening. It could be one of the two reasons that, what I said. Is there a reason why the defcon has dropped, the threat level to the United States has dropped? There was a couple bombings on military personnel in Kenya and Syria. It killed about, I think, like 16 military personnel in Syria. I don't know if that's the reason why. We can't get any information on it because everything shut down. Does it have anything to do with what we're seeing here? If anybody's having problem with videos over YouTube trying to buffer or they stop playing, don't click off the video. Just hit your refresh button and it should pop back up. It's been doing that to me lately. So you ought to just hit the refresh button and it'll fire back up. So, it's like, just, I'm more worried about the defcon level being down and the government being down, and it's supposed to be down as far as it's been since that one day a few years ago that bad thing happened on. So there's a lot of things that's been going on for the last, for the last 2 years. There's been stuff all over the world happening: earthquakes, volcanoes, and increase in seismic activity. For some reason or another, the government is in a huge hurry to get to Mars. I mean, a huge hurry. So much of a hurry that they commercialized. They gave the okay for private and commercialized space flight. And all these companies sprang up, and they ended the space shuttle program, but at the same time, they gave more funding to build a space vehicle in order to get to Mars, to start ushering people to live on Mars and build a Mars base. We've had more asteroids coming at us in the last 2 years than any other time before. There's always an asteroid getting ready to hit us every day of the week, so it seems like now. India has been hit with so many, or been rocked by so many earthquakes over the last year. Yellowstone is seeing increased activity. Huge earthquakes in Alaska around the Ring of Fire. Just about every volcano on the planet is going off. Our magnetic poles are they're in reverse, going in reversal. And not to mention that every time a reversal happens, there's always an extinction level event that happens right after that. We're due for a reversal. We don't know what it causes. We don't know what damage it can do. We've never been through, humans themselves have never been through one. They've never recorded it. We don't know what's going to happen. Scientists themselves say we haven't had one in 800,000 years. Well, they say humans haven't been around that long, or long enough for that, or at least the Neanderthals, and though they were wiped out at the same time in that extinction level event with the dinosaurs. So we don't have an intelligent record keeping of what happened during a magnetic reversal. We don't have any information for that. We just know every time a reversal happens, there's an extinction level event that happens. And it obliterates mankind. It obliterates animals, everything. Something bad always happens. It just so happens that an asteroid hit at that time and wiped everything out. And we've been having a crap ton of them head this direction. So is that what's going to happen? Is it the perfect storm? Do we have an asteroid that's going to that's going to head this way after, our after the magnetic pole flips and then it weakens. I'm going to do a video on that. After I do a video on this, actually, I'm going to do another video. And I've been getting ready for that one. And I just actually happened to come across this news story. So I put it up. And I hope everybody watches this one. I think it's a good one. It's interesting. Like I said, I'm getting ready to work on the one about the magnetic poles. I do my research. And as I said before, I do bring sources and common sense together. Not a lot of people do that. They just sit there and talk and bull crap, and they don't show any kind of sources. They just say that, there's a storm coming, and that's it. They don't even check the weather. If you get my drift. So, all right, everybody. If you like my show, comment, like, and subscribe. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Peace out.